All right, everybody. So we will hear from Sarah.
Hello.
Sarah's from England
I am.
and from London. I don't know. Where are you from?
A little bit North London, but
Okay.
London's good. London's
So
good.
she's going to be with you in Barcelona.
Yeah, I will be there for the first week in Barcelona.
And you're a bit behind the scenes over there.
Yes.
But you'll have your advisors, Clem
is
and
there, and
Rita
and Katie as well.
and Katie. Okay. So she'll go through everything with you about that. We also have your faculty in the back. We'll hear from them shortly. And I will hand this off to you.
Okay. Would you want to hear from them now? Faculty kind of.
Okay, yeah. Do you guys want to come up? And we'll.
Sure, Elizabeth, go for it.
Yes.
Hey, welcome! I am so excited. Can we believe you guys want to go to another country? To Barcelona? Oh my gosh! And it happened so quickly when you first, decided to come to the information meeting, and there you go. Congratulations. My name is Dr. Garate, and I am the lead professor for the study abroad program. And I'm really excited. I am going to be over Spanish classes, and so any questions you may have today, I have some syllabi for Spanish 101, for Spanish 102, and also for the Life and Culture, which each one of you are enrolled in. So after the meeting, I will be there with the syllabi. A lot of you have called or asked or emailed wondering about the books. I believe the all bookstore is open today.
Yes, it'll be open until 12:30.
So we do have our bookstore open today in case professors over here need to have you buy books. For Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, you will need to buy your book, okay? I don't want to take too much time. I just want to welcome you. If you have any questions afterwards, I think we're all going to be here available to help you out, okay? So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm with her. Welcome and congratulations. This is definitely not easy, but exciting, and you're going to have a great time. My name is VALDIVIA. I'm teaching the history classes, so I'm going to be teaching world history, 20th century history, history of California, and history of the West. I'm very, I think you're going to this experience to get academic skills, but also to travel and to see things that you can't see here and experiences you can't have here. So I was conscientious of that, so I didn't order any books. They're PDFs. I know, the girl's excited. They're not going to read, all right? Because in my head, you guys are going to be sitting waiting for a train. You can read my book while you're waiting for the train. You can read the article I assigned while you're waiting to catch the flight to go to Paris, right? And then when you're waiting to come back, you can pick it up and finish reading it, right, before class. So I put up stuff on Canvas. You'll be able to see everything up next week. If you want to buy the text, there's some of that you can. All of them you can get used. I think you can experience the world by reading other people's experiences. So it's going to be great. You're going to be experiencing the world. You're going to be reading about other people's, and most importantly, we're going to talk about it. Right? That's going to be nice. So again, I'll be here afterwards if you have some questions. But welcome. This is exciting. So make sure you find me to let me know who's in which class. All right?
Good morning. My name is John Fincher. I'm professor of speech communication, argumentation, debate, public speaking, interpersonal small groups. So if you signed up for any of those classes, I'm the guy. Got a couple of questions outside of the program. How many of you have never flown on a commercial airliner before? 2 people. Very good. How many of you have never flown long-haul international before? Okay, about 12. Okay. We have done this before, and if you have any questions regarding flying, especially, that's my area because I'm a pilot. And I just got back from Sydney, Australia 2 days ago. The longest flight we will ever take. Right? This is a short hop by comparison. So if you want to talk about any issues regarding flight or international flight or anything like that, I'll be more than happy to talk to you back there To dovetail on what John pointed out earlier about code of conduct, how many of you think that if you get arrested in Spain, they're going to read you your Miranda rights? No. Once that door closes on an airplane, you just left the United States Constitution behind. You're going to a whole different program over there. And you don't want to get involved with that. Okay? That's the bottom line. And if, oh, by the way, mentioned Paris. If you go to Paris, the law's the reverse. Here in the United States, you have the right to remain silent. In Paris, if you get arrested, it's the other way around. You got to talk your way out. They can arrest you, and it's up to you to prove you're innocent. They don't have to prove your guilt. So be careful over there. Keep your nose clean. You should be fine. It's not North Korea. Just be forewarned, okay?
Thanks, John. Just before we get started, I will just follow up on one thing. If any of your professors have sent you PDFs to download, please do it before you get to Spain. We have had issues a couple of times where there's licensing rights and things like items that can only be downloaded in the US. So just make sure you download and have all of your course materials saved somewhere before you come over. Thank you. Okay, so my name's Sarah. I work for AIFS. I've worked for AIFS since 2009, which makes me very old. And I mainly work on French and Spanish programs, so I oversee our Barcelona semesters, and as John said, I kind of work behind the scenes to get things all organised, come and help for arrivals, and then you'll really only see me again if you're in trouble, so you want to hope you only see me in that first week, although I do love a trip to Barcelona, so you know. So just going through a couple of images here, we've got the Sagrada Familia, which you'll get to see, and then just a view down over the top of Barcelona from up at Tibidabo. So going through the presentation, I'm going to go through kind of the timeline of events as you arrive. We'll go through what life's going to be like in Barcelona, and then I'm going to touch on a few more practical things like packing and things like that. If you could please, if you have any questions, I'll deal with them all at the end if that's okay. Otherwise I'll lose my flow and it will all get very complicated. Okay, so can I just see a show of hands for anybody who's on the group flight? Excellent. So your flight itinerary was just published, so it should be up on the AIFS portal by now. I will double check it on Monday, but it should be there. You should have your ticket information, you'll get your insurance card, and then your luggage tags will be mailed to you about 2 weeks to 10 days before you depart. And then once you get to the other end in Barcelona, you'll have either myself or my colleagues will be at the airport, AIFS sign in hand, and we'll welcome you and transfer you into the hotel. So that is the group flight. I'll publish the PDF of the PowerPoint to the portal as well, so don't worry about taking photos or making notes. It will all be there for you. So you have a connection in London, eventually arriving in Barcelona at 4:30 on Friday. Have I got my dates wrong? Is it February the 16th is the Friday, I think. Sorry about that. And then don't need to worry about it too soon, but then the return flight in May gets back to LAX about 7:20 in the evening. So, show of hands if you've booked your own flights. That should be everybody else. Excellent. Please could you email your itineraries to us so that we know when to expect you and so that we can send you instructions. The email to send that to is spain@aifs.co.uk. Please make sure you include your name and the programme that you're a part of. You'd be surprised how many people send us anonymous emails, and it's a real detective job to figure out who they come from, so it's much appreciated if you help us as much as you can. If you're arriving before February the 16th, then you will need to make your own accommodation arrangements, but everybody in the group has a room in the group hotel from that Friday evening, so we'll let you know how and when to get there. So, leaving from LA, please make sure that you allow at least 3 hours in the airport before your departure time, so you should be checking in about 3 hours prior. And please do remember, LA traffic is a wonderful thing. Last spring, I think we had 3 students miss the flight because they were stuck in traffic, so hopefully being a late afternoon departure, it won't be so bad, but you still need to get to the airport around midday to be safe. Make sure you have your e-ticket confirmation and your passport with you. If you are on the group flight, because it's a group ticket, you won't be able to check in online or anything in advance. You just check in at the gate at the desk when you get there. Obviously, if you're travelling independently, you'll be able to do all that 24 hours before. Obviously, you'll have your carry-on and your checked luggage. Fairly standard baggage allowances, I think, are £50 for your checked bag, a carry-on and a personal item. You would be surprised how often luggage does go a little bit waylaid in transit, so please make sure you pack a spare set of clothes and any medication that you need in your carry-on, because there's nothing worse than getting off a long-haul flight and realising that you've got to wear the same clothes for the next 2 days as well. Please let us know if there's any delays to your flight. We do monitor the group flight. We can't, unfortunately, there's nearly 70 of you, we can't monitor everybody's flights all the time. But if you are subject to any major delays, just shoot us a message on the Spain email or post it in the Facebook group, and we'll track you down and know where you are. And then just, be patient, listen while you're in the airport. There's often gate changes or delays or announcements. Just kind of pay attention to where you have to be and when, and kind of sit back, relax, pick a few good movies on the plane, and you'll be there before you know it. So, when you do get to the other end, you may have to pick up your bags in London. I'm not sure, they may go straight through, so make sure you check that with whoever checks you in. But once you get to Barcelona, you'll have to clear immigration. Obviously the programme is less than 90 days, so you'll just be entering as a tourist because you're not enrolling in a Spanish institution, you're staying enrolled at Citrus College. Clear immigration, come through to get your bags. As I said, occasionally bags do go missing, so if they do, you have to deal with it. If your bag doesn't appear on the carousel, that's when you need to deal with it. You can't come through to the arrivals hall and then figure stuff out. It all has to be done while you're still in there. So find the BA or the Iberia desk if you're on the group flight, and just register all your details with them. Make sure you give the AIFS office address and our phone number so that we can track your bags and get them delivered to you. And when they are lost, they usually take a day or two to be found and delivered. So again, I can't say this often enough, please make sure you have just a spare set of clothes and some essentials to carry you through for a couple of days. So if you're on the group flight, then you will be picked up and bussed from the airport to the hotel. If you're not on the group flight, but your flight gets in at the same time, or you've booked the same flight on your own, if we do have space on the bus, then you're welcome to join our transfer. Otherwise, it's up to you to make your own way to the hotel, and we will provide that information. So we'll be in the arrivals hall, and we'll also be waiting at the hotel for you. That's our phone number, and that's repeated later on as well. The airport's about a 30-minute ride out of town, so that you can get a taxi for about €25, or there's a bus that comes in and stops pretty much. The Aero bus will stop right outside the hotel as well, and that's about €6.
The Aero bus?
Yeah. When we get students' information, we send them all flight information. We send this out to them. So yeah, it's kind of we like to hold something back so we get what we need, and then we'll share the important stuff that you need. Okay, so first week. So as I said, every student on the programme, whether you're flying with us or flying independently, you all get a night in the hotel on the Friday. Should be able to check in from 3 o'clock. On the Saturday morning, check-out will hold a morning orientation. So that will be myself, my colleagues, the faculty. We'll just go through a bit more relevant in Barcelona stuff and things to help you enjoy the programme. And then in the afternoon, we move you all to your apartments and your homestays. Once you've had another night to settle in, on the Friday morning, we'll have sightseeing. And that's usually sort of 3 hours driving around the city and seeing all the highlights so that you can get a feel for the city. Monday, we'll have a mixture of workshops. We do a travel workshop so we can help you make the most of your weekends. We'll do a cultural differences workshop, and then we'll also have the sign-ups for the cultural calendar as well. So they're all the optional activities that we arrange for you as well. On Tuesday, I know it's President's Day here in the US. Unfortunately, classes begin for you guys on that Tuesday. And we run Tuesday to Friday that week. So the class you would have originally had on Monday, you'll have on the Friday. To celebrate your survival of the week, we'll have welcome tapas on the Thursday evening just to toast the beginning of the programme. Make sure you're all eating well and keeping your energy up. And then Saturday is the first optional activity that we've arranged, which is out to Montserrat and Sitges. Montserrat is a really cool mountain range. It's got a monastery kind of built into the mountain, really beautiful views early morning. And then Sitges lies about 30 minutes south of Barcelona. It's a beautiful beach, really nice beach town. So it's a good one to kind of relax at the end of a long week. So that we have some students on the sightseeing tour. Okay, so I think I posted in the Facebook group a few days ago. We've been working with Citrus and your professors to try and give you as many 4-day weekends as possible. So without wanting to confuse things too much, this is kind of the schedule. Don't worry about it too much right now because we will give you a calendar and everything when you arrive, and this will be published. But some weeks run Monday to Thursday and some weeks will run Tuesday to Friday. Okay, so Monday classes in that instance will be plonked on the Friday. And then there's 1 week towards the end of the programme where they helpfully have a national holiday on a Tuesday, so the week goes a little bit funky. But mostly it's either Monday to Thursday or Tuesday to Friday, with lots of 4-day weekends in there for you. A few other activities that we already have arranged. So I've mentioned Montserrat. If you've signed up to the optional weekend to Madrid, that will be taking place from March the 2nd to March the 4th. On Saturday, March the 10th, we have a life and culture excursion to Girona and Figueres. A couple of weeks later, we have one to Tarragona. And then we are arranging an optional Morocco weekend in April for you, so it will be after Easter weekend. That's still kind of in the works. We're putting the final touches to that, but we'll have more information for you at orientation. And then we also have other activities such as the football and cooking classes, things like that will also be confirmed once you arrive. So, introducing you to my colleagues. On the left here we have Clem. Clem's worked for us for 4 years now. He's worked in Italy, Costa Rica. He's just been on a programme in the Galapagos, but he's pretty much in Barcelona permanently now. He kind of runs the show over there and is in charge of keeping everything going. And then he is helped by Rita in the middle and Katie. Rita's originally from Valencia, so she's our local on the team, and that comes in very, very handy, let me tell you. And then we have Katie, who is originally from Jersey, but has led a lot of tours for us all over Spain as well. And then me. So you can reach all of us at the spain@aifs.co.uk email. If you have any questions before the programme and during, that's the way to reach us. And they're also located in the study centre, so you will see them every day. So what do? They're all very experienced. Every single one of us that works for AIFS has studied abroad or lived abroad, so we know absolutely what you're going through. And we had such a good experience on our study abroad that we now work trying to help people have the same amazing time. So while we don't really have anything to do with the academics, we do coordinate your accommodation. We organise classrooms for you. We set up the Spanish Life and Culture class, cultural activities. We're on hand to answer your questions, whether it's about travel, whether it's about healthcare, whether it's about finding a very niche thing in Barcelona, whether it's finding vegan food, things like that. We're just there to help you find whatever you need. And we also support the faculty to make sure that their classes run smoothly and that they also have a great time. We operate a 24-hour emergency phone service, so it's not some random person in a call centre. If you pick up and call that phone, you'll get either Clem, Rita or Katie. So you'll get to speak to someone that you know if you need to in an emergency. Again, when we get to Barcelona, we'll go over what constitutes an emergency and what doesn't. But that's not really relevant right now. I've got some good stories to share. And then we can also arrange medical appointments and help you find pharmacies and things like that as well. So we are located, as are your classrooms, in a Spanish language centre called Don Quixote. It's in the Eixample area, the left Eixample of Barcelona, which is kind of a residential grid area. And that's the mailing address. And the nearest metro for you will be Entença, which is on line 5. So it's a really nice modern building, nice and bright. Lots of the windows have these lots of the classrooms, have long glass windows. Goes out to a lovely patio at the back. And it's open from about 8:30, 8:45 through until 6:45 to 7 Monday to Friday, so it's not open at weekends. But they have lots of space for you to use, lots of classrooms. Yeah, it's a nice place to be. So just for an idea of location, the Blue Star is where that is. It's quite a residential area, the Eixample. It's lots of apartment blocks and things like that. So you'll also be given a travel pass when you arrive. So if they're both the same, basically. If you're under 25, you'll get the T Jove. If you're over 25, you get the T Trimestre. But they are valid for the duration of the programme. They're valid for 90 days. They work on every single metro line, on all the buses and trams, and within the central area of the trains. So you shouldn't have to pay a penny to get around in the city. Metro, it's really easy to kind of get to know. All of the lines are different colours and numbers, and they're fairly regular. They run through the night on a Friday and Saturday, and a really easy way to get around town. So that's the metro map, which looks like a complete maze at first glance, but you will get used to it, I promise. And then just for an idea, the orange star marks where the school is. So we're right by Entença Metro. Okay, accommodation. So all of our apartments and homestays are located within the same kind of band area. A few different neighbourhoods. We have Sants, Les Corts, Eixample, the left and the right, Gràcia, and then Clot. Eixample means extension. So Barcelona used to be this tiny little town kind of nestled by the sea. And then sort of the turn of the 19th, 20th century, they've built this huge grid system. And it really is a thing of wonder. They've got, the middle of the blocks have gardens in. It's a really well-worked system. So the street level will be offices and shops, and then above there's just lots of private residences. All of our accommodation is within a 30-minute commute of the study centre, so whether that be by metro, by bus, or on foot. Obviously, they're all dotted around, so it will differ a little bit. And then that's just to give you an idea of the neighbourhoods. So kind of the strip along the top is where we have our accommodation. The red, the orange, purple, green, and then the lilac as well. But all very close to the centre, and everything's very accessible.
Excuse me. At the top of the hill is where the school is?
No,
Or further down?
the school would be around here.
Oh, gotcha.
So, accommodation. Hands up if you've chosen to live in a shared apartment, please. Excellent. So you'll be placed between 4 and 6 students to an apartment in twin-bedded rooms. We usually have sort of 3 to 4 bedroom places. They're self-catered, which means you'll have access to an equipped kitchen, so you have to make your own meals. I say equipped, they probably won't have a NutriBullet or a blender or anything fancy like that, but you'll have pots and pans, an oven, a microwave, and all the essentials. You'll have a shared living area and bathrooms. You'll have Wi-Fi access, and then you'll have a cleaning service once a week. They won't come in and do your bedrooms, but they'll do all the common areas, the kitchen, the bathrooms. They don't wash dishes, I'm afraid. I don't know if is this a British thing that you clean for the cleaner? You're kind of expected to tidy things up a little bit before she comes round. So adopt the British approach and make sure that it's in a reasonable state before she arrives, please. Obviously, might be the first time that you're living with roommates or living with people that aren't your family members. And while there are plenty of challenges that come with living with your family, there's just as many that come with living with people that you don't really know. So we have a few kind of base rules that we ask people to follow. Please be respectful of each other and each other's preferences and habits. Issues will come up, whether it's someone's eating your peanut butter or, someone hasn't washed their dishes. Talk about it. If something's annoying you, let someone know in a very polite and calm manner. But, something that can be very tiny for a couple of days can easily escalate and become something that ruins friendships. So please talk about it while it's a minor thing, get things out of the way. As I said, clean for the cleaner. Please keep it clean and tidy. Make sure you take out the trash and recycle regularly. They're really good in Spain about recycling, so you'll find different coloured dumpsters for paper, glass, plastic. So please do use those systems. Everybody always thinks we're lying when we say this because we want people to keep quiet. There are actually legal quiet hours in Spain. In a lot of European cities where it is just apartment living and everybody's living on top of each other, there's kind of a rule that, 11 till 7, everybody's allowed to get their 8 hours of sleep without disturbances from their neighbours. Because believe you me, if you can hear someone playing their music through the wall, then they will obviously be able to hear you. So it's just, it's not quite like here where you have detached houses and there's essentially could be 50 feet between, one home and the next, if not more. You do share walls and ceilings and floors with people. So it's just a case of being polite to your neighbours and in return they're polite to you. Even, can be a little bit relaxed on the weekends, but people do also work weekends as well. So if there are any evening disturbances, regardless of the day or the week, the neighbours do have the right to call the police, and they often do. They also will let the agents know, and, it escalates. And as John said, the rules are slightly different over there. AIFS can do lots of things, but we can't break you out of jail. So please do bear that in mind. And for security reasons, I'm afraid that no overnight guests are allowed. If you have people visiting, we'd be more than happy to give you ideas of hostels and hotels and things like that. It's often a space issue. There's enough beds in the apartment for the people that live there, and just out of respect for your roommates as well. So just a couple of photos to give you an idea of what you're moving to. They're not by any way or means fancy, but they will be, comfortable, perfectly livable for 3 months. So just some examples of bedrooms there, and then shared spaces, kitchens and bathrooms. And then hands up if you've chosen to live with a homestay family. Excellent. So again, you will, unless you've requested a single room, you will share a room with another student on the programme. You'll have a shared bathroom, likely with the family. Limited kitchen access because they do provide you with breakfast daily and dinner during the week. If you want to store a couple of things for lunch in the fridge, I'm sure they wouldn't mind. But again, that just needs to be a conversation with them when you arrive. They will do a weekly load of laundry for you, or they'll show you how to use the laundry. You'll have Wi-Fi again, and you'll be given your own key. Again, you won't have a curfew. You're all adults. You'll be allowed to come and go as you please. But again, it comes with, certain levels of respect, not crashing through the door past midnight, and just being respectful for the family while you're on your own schedule. If you're in a homestay, just a little bit of advice. Even if your Spanish isn't great, make sure you learn a few phrases before you arrive. Try and speak Spanish with them as much as you can from the start. You'd be surprised how far you can get, like either pointing at things in a dictionary or doing a mime. It really helps break the ice if you're kind of making a fool of yourself just to ask, where the towel is or something like that. Best thing to do if there's any foods or things that you don't eat or are allergic to, make sure that's the phrase you learn how to say, because that's probably the most important to get started. Make sure you do ask if you're unsure about anything. The first couple of days can be a whirlwind of people just shouting information at you, so don't expect to take it all in at once. If they've shown you around but you can't remember where something is, go back and check. Please do be patient. It's a completely different environment. There's no such thing anymore as the 2.4 children family, just as there isn't in the US. So you might be living with a couple whose children have grown up and moved out. You might be living with a lady who's widowed, a family with younger children. Everybody has a different, family situation. And just kind of try and think about what it would be like if someone came to live with your family, how they might find it, and try and be in the other person's shoes. Be respectful and courteous, and just be a little bit mindful of the utilities. Water and gas and electricity are significantly more expensive here in Spain than they are here. So don't be offended if someone's walking through the house behind you, turning off lights as you leave rooms, chatting and muttering as they go. It's just the Spanish way. So then we have a homestay family enjoying dinner. Does anybody know what this is? They have a very odd tradition in Catalonia. These are castellers. So they build human castles, and every sort of local Catalan holiday, you'll find people in the squares doing these exhibitions. They like train twice a week, so they have to get obviously as many layers as they can, and then they send up the 4-year-old in a riding helmet to get to the top, which, you know, makes perfect sense. So you might be able to pick I don't think oh yeah, she's there at the bottom right. So she's got to, once there's be like 2 more layers to go yet, and then they'll send her up. What you can't see is there's lots and lots of people bracing them. So there's like 10 people deep around the people you can actually see. But I hope that you'll get to see this in actually happening while you're there, because it's an incredible thing to behold. Go on YouTube and look up Castellers. It's incredible to actually watch. Okay, just some cultural differences. So, yes, in Spain they speak Spanish. They also speak Galician, Euskadi, and Catalan. So in Barcelona, which is part of Catalonia, they speak Catalan as well as Spanish. Everybody who speaks Catalan can speak Spanish, so don't worry that you're going to come across somebody that doesn't understand you. Try and learn a couple of words in Catalan, just hello, thank you. It goes a long way, especially at the moment when there's quite sensitive independence conversations going on. It is unfamiliar food, I'm afraid. Brace yourselves, they don't really do hot sauce or spicy things. So you might want to load your checked bag with sriracha and everything else you could get your hands on. You think I'm joking, I'm really not. When I lived in a homestay, I cooked a spaghetti bolognese for my homestay mum, and she said it was too spicy. So bear in mind that. It will become your quest over the semester to find the place that serves reasonable Mexican food, I promise you. But yeah, unfamiliar food, it's a lot of, they fry a lot of things, it's lots of rice, potatoes, lots of fish. They tend to eat everything, so you will find in tapas places there's things like sheep's ears and pig's feet, and try it before you know, the rule is to try it once and then you can decide whether you like it or not. Vegetarianism and veganism and dietary requirements have come a long way, and especially in a city like Barcelona, but they can still be a bit of an alien concept sometimes. So be prepared to have the conversation that you're vegetarian. No, you don't eat ham. No, you don't eat tuna. No, you know, they'll say, oh, but it's only chicken. Yep, I'm a vegetarian. You know, you just be prepared to have to repeat a few things sometimes. You will find gluten-free and things like that in the supermarkets, so that's good. It's come a long way. Be prepared that everything will be significantly smaller than you're used to. Elevators are 2-people elevators at most, 1 person in a suitcase elevators rather than 12, 15, 20 people. Apartments are smaller, cars are smaller, streets are smaller, serving sizes are smaller. So, you know, it's, I guess, traditional here to go out to a restaurant, maybe to eat half your meal, then after ask to take it out to go. That doesn't really exist in Spain, mainly because you won't be served this ginormous portion size. So that's really only pizza is the thing that you take out. Trying to think. It'll just be lack of personal space. You'll be living with people that you didn't know yesterday. You'll be moving around the town and the city, you know, in metros, in buses, with lots of other people. You won't have that wonderful safe bubble of your car anymore. So you just have to get used to being surrounded by people all of the time. Now, don't be offended, but Americans do have a little bit of a reputation of being loud. She says, getting pelted with things. So do the Spanish. The Spanish are loud. They are blunt. They call a spade a spade. So it'll be an interesting experience. You know, we've had homestay mothers before who don't hold back in telling their students what they think of how they dress, or what, you know, just, they're very opinionated and they're very happy to share it with you. So try not to take too much offence. Try to, you know, take it as it's intended. But yeah, if you're feeling sensitive about anything, maybe don't discuss it with a Spaniard. They're very, they like to embrace. So you'll say hello to someone and you'll get immediately pulled in for a hug and a kiss on the cheek. It's very It's a very warm but very loud culture. Customer service, I will say enjoy your last 3 weeks in America because you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it a lot. You'll be lucky if someone looks at you while they're serving you. You'll be lucky if someone says hello to you as you walk in. If you're in a restaurant, you'll be left to eat at your own leisure. You won't have someone hovering, pouring water every time you've taken a sip. It's different. I personally prefer it. I feel very kind of harassed when someone's hovering over me if I'm trying to have lunch, or following me around a store asking me if they can help. I was in Whole Foods yesterday and the guy was like, "Oh, can I help you with anything?" I was like, No, I'm fine." And he just continued the conversation. I was like, "Oh, I thought we were done there." He was just kept talking to me, and I was being very British and polite, but I was like, No, I'm fine. I'm like ran out the store. So that's a different. We don't have that in the UK, so it's a different experience for me. But you know, if you're just be prepared. If you want something, you have to ask for it. Have to ask for the check, etc., etc. On the upside, we don't really have a tipping culture. So if you sit down to eat in a restaurant, maybe 10%, a couple of euros, whatever you can afford, but you're not going to be expected to leave 15, 20% every time you talk to someone. So, you know, you can save your money and actually spend it on yourselves. They do still have, a lot of people do still smoke in Spain. It has been banned from restaurants and bars and things like that, but just walking down the streets you will kind of get caught in clouds of smoke, so just be prepared for that as well. Please do keep an open mind. The whole point of this experience is that you're going to experience something different. It's not necessarily better or worse. There'll be things that you love about it. There'll be things that you'll be, you know, standing in line at a post office and you'll just be like, "Oh my God, this is so much easier at home." Everybody has, you know, things that they prefer about each culture, but it's going to be different, and that's why you're going. If you didn't want that, then you could have stayed on campus for the spring, saved a lot of money, and just done exactly the same classes. So please do come with an open mind, a positive mind. Obviously, if there's things you're struggling with, you can come and chat to us, and we'll no doubt have a story that's equally frustrating that we can share with you. But it's all about just getting through and experiencing things. Okay, this is Casa Milà, which is also known as the Quarry, right in the centre of town. So all of your classes, as I've said, will take place in the study centre at Don Quixote, with the exception of the SLC lecture. We went through the slides earlier with what your faculty are teaching. The Life and Culture class is something that we organise for you. Elisabeth will oversee it. It's a combination of lectures, so every Tuesday you'll have a lecture with a local expert, and then on occasional Thursdays we'll have excursions to local galleries, museums, walking tours, just so that you can kind of see what you're learning about in vivo. And then we have a couple of day trips, which I mentioned before. So we try and give a good range of subjects so that hopefully it increases your knowledge of the country and explains a few quirks of the Spanish culture. This is a Civil War walking tour. So the guy in the red shirt there is Nick, and he takes you out on a walk around the old town where you can see all of the gunfire marks that were left from the Civil War. You have Casa Batlló and then Casa Amatière, which we will see when we do the Modernism and Architecture Week. And then to complement the SLC classes, you'll be given an art ticket. It's called an art passport, so it looks like a little red passport, and it grants you one entry to each of the main art galleries in the city. So we may ask you to keep one of them to do as part of the SLC class, but otherwise you'll be welcome to visit those during the programme at your leisure. I think as well with the SLC syllabus you have to prove that you've been to at least 3 on the list as well. So they'll give you a stamp at each place. That's the group outside the Juan Miró Museum up at Montjuic. So the first SLC day trip is to Girona and Figueres. Girona is a very cool town about an hour and a half northeast of Barcelona. It's been a city that's been built on throughout the centuries, so there's a Jewish quarter, there's lots of medieval areas, there's an incredible cathedral, and any Game of Thrones fans, you'll be able to spot various seen filming locations. I haven't seen an episode, so I can't tell you what they are, but I'm told that there's lots of filming locations there. I think on the steps outside the cathedral, maybe. You'll have time for lunch, and then we're back on the bus to Figueres, which is home to the Teatro Museo Dali. It's one of my favourite museums. It's very interactive and all based on perception, so you can meander your way around the museum and see lots of very bizarre creations. And then that's the river that runs through Girona. It's a really beautiful town. Then we also go to Tarragona. That's about a couple of hours south of Barcelona. That's a Roman city. So we get to walk around visiting the Praetorium, the Circus, and the amphitheatre, as you can see there. Again, free time for lunch and the afternoon to explore. Sometimes this coincides with when they're on national holidays, so they are also quite mad about doing the Castellers as well. The cultural calendar, so we try to put together things that you'll enjoy, things that help you make the most of your time in the city, and we subsidise them, so they're cheaper if you do them with us than if you were to go out and book them on your own. Roughly have one event every week. We are still trying to confirm the Barcelona match, so I can't tell you yet what game that will be, but you will get to see one. We have a cooking class, which is a lot of fun. You get to make tortilla, paella, crema catalana, and all kind of work as a team to make this incredible meal. You can go to the Sagrada Familia and see it kind of in the last stages of construction. They do tend to move it every year, but I think the end goal is 2026 at the minute for completion. So we'll make our donation and help the building of that. Parkway, we'll go to other museums such as the History Museum of Catalunya. We have a wine tasting evening, street art tours, and then we have other trips outside the city as well. So we've got Sitges and Montserrat. Port Aventura is a theme park that's usually quite enjoyed towards the end of the programme. And they're all of the events do have a cost attached to them, but it's literally like 5, 10, 15 euros. It's the most expensive thing on there is the soccer ticket, and that will likely be about 30 or 40 euros. But to compare, full price tickets are upwards of 80, 90, 100 euros. So we do cover a huge chunk of that cost so that you can go. We're really nice like that. So just some pictures there of the cooking class. Just a really fun evening. That was a food walking tour through the markets. So just to see the mountains of fresh fruit and cheese and meats is quite an incredible experience. And then the soccer match. So this was a group that really got into it. We had a boy on the programme who used to make money at college by crocheting hats. So he decked everybody out in the Barcelona colours. It's a really cool experience. Okay, so we also have the optional trip to Madrid, and that includes the round-trip travel down to Madrid, hotel for a couple of nights, bed and breakfast. You'll do a city tour, we'll have dinner together, and then a tour of the Prado Museum as well. I think that trip is full, but if anybody was interested in adding it, send us an email to that Spain address and we'll see what we can do. That's the Plaza Mayor in Madrid. It's really beautiful. Okay, does anybody have any questions? I'm going to move on to kind of the more practical side of things, but if anyone has any questions at this point, I'm happy to... Yes. The homestay information usually gets sent out about 2 weeks before departure. Yeah, so maybe the end of the first week of February. Yeah. Yes, if you send, are you on the group flight or the, so when you send me your flight information, we'll send you back where the hotel is. We've learnt to be sneaky in these situations, because otherwise you don't hear from anybody. Yeah. Yes, apartments all have washing machines, yeah.
I was wondering if there's any way that we can have, like, contact our homestay, like, host families.
That goes out about 2 weeks before the start of the programme.
Perfect.
Yeah. That's a question for your faculty. They all have their attendance policies. I think it's, yeah.
When do we get our mentor passes?
When you arrive, so the start of the program, we give them out at orientation. Yeah.
We find out to look at our apartment.
Apartments, we usually do it when you arrive. We'll normally have a big grid up in the hotel, and that's just because we get roommate requests, like literally up to people are on the plane messaging us saying, oh, I'm sitting next to this person, I want a room with them, and we try and be as flexible about that as possible. So it's kind of a huge puzzle, and so as soon as it's finished, we publish it, but we like to be able to fulfill people's requests. If we started to say no 3 weeks out, then it can get a bit mean and awkward, so we try and help as much as we can.
Question about the statement. What is the incentive for them to participate in the program? Are they compensated?
Yeah, they are. I mean, they are compensated, but they are under no obligation to invite people into their home. So it's because they want that cultural exchange. It could be that they're widowed and they just would, generally want some company and someone to interact with. It could be that their older children studied abroad or, have had a positive experience with it and they want to help other students in that situation. I mean, every family has they might have younger children who they want to learn English, and therefore the easiest way to do that is to invite an English speaker into the home. There's
they're
lots of...
very open, receptive, and
Yeah.
they know on their end that it's a cultural
Yes,
experience.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
they probably have done it more
Yeah,
than
we
once.
use a lot of the same families every time. So if we have a bad experience with someone, they're out. So, if we ask students to fill in evaluations at the end of every programme, we visit the families before students arrive. We have a good long-standing relationship with them. And if there's ever a situation that we don't agree with, we remove the student and we just don't use that family again. So we're quite strict on...
Does that possibly happen midway through?
Sometimes it does, yeah.
They have an option of being
yeah.
able to do. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, a huge part of it is personalities, and sometimes people just don't gel, or something happens, and if we have to move someone, we try and resolve it, obviously, but we aren't averse to moving people to improve everybody's situation. Yeah.
Is it best to bring our cell phones and pay the national fees, or end up going out there and buying a burger?
I'm going to answer that question in about 3 slides time. Yeah.
Is there any sort of...
Yeah, so in both the apartments and homestays, there's a key from the street, and then there's a key to your door in your actual apartment as well. So it's 2 layers. Yeah.
So the contact phone numbers providing them.
Yes, it's on a slide in a few time. Yeah. Right. Oh yeah, one last one, and then I'll carry on. They should. Again, I'll cover that in a minute, but yeah, ATMs with their existing debit card is the best way to get cash. Bear with me just a second and I will go through all the practical stuff. So packing, you should be allowed to bring 1 checked bag, about £50, 1 carry-on and 1 personal item. I know there was some chat in the Facebook group about maybe paying to check an extra bag. Try as hard as you can not to do that, please. You will go shopping, you will buy souvenirs, you will probably have to buy a cheap bag and maybe consider checking a bag to come home with. So if you bring 2 full bags at the start, that just means you have to buy a 3rd bag. And you're the only one there who's got to, mum and dad aren't going to be there in Barcelona to help you drag your bags through the city. So they might help get you to the plane, but they're not going to be there the other side. So you do need to bear that in mind. I promise you they have, clothes stores and cosmetic stores and everything you might need you can buy in Barcelona, I promise. It's a very civilized city. If you take any prescription medication, please make sure that you bring enough for the program with you. Make sure you bring a copy of your prescription. Maybe if it's something that's a long-term treatment, bring a copy of your treatment plan from your doctor. Any medication, even if your parents or family send over like vitamins or anything like that, Advil, Dayquil, whatever, it's going to get stopped because they're, it's even if it's a vitamin, they're going to stop it in customs, and you will probably get, if you even see it again, you will have to pay a very expensive bill to get it released. So it's really not worth the hassle. Make sure you bring a towel. It can just be, you know, that's something that you might want to plan to ditch at the end of the programme. So if there's kind of one that's seen better days at home, maybe bring that safe in the knowledge that you can abandon it at the end. Make sure you bring clothing that you will wear, things that you can layer, things that you can wash easily. Try to leave anything that's, you know, dry clean only or stuff like that at home. Spain is, well, I think Spain's wonderfully warm because I'm from England, but, you know, it does still have weather, and it does still rain as they transition into spring. So make sure you have a rain jacket, an umbrella. You will do a lot more walking than you're probably used to, so make sure you bring comfortable shoes. Hopefully it goes without saying, you know, you want a camera, some way to listen to music on journeys. You'll need your laptop or a tablet or something to get you through your classwork. And as I said, just make sure you remember that you will come home with more stuff than you're taking, so bear that in mind. You'll want to bring souvenirs home, so either plan already on buying a small duffel to check in as a second bag when you're there, or if you've got a collapsible one to just throw in your suitcase, maybe do that. The majority of the homestays and apartments will have elevators. Like I said, there'll be one person, one suitcase elevators, but they will be there. However, there may be steps up to the elevator, you know, things like that. So make sure that you're able to control all of your own luggage. I wish I could employ a team of porters. Unfortunately, I can't. So yeah, when you get to Barcelona, you will be in charge of all of your own bags and getting them to where they need to be. So make sure you can carry them or drag them fairly easily. You don't need to bring any bed linen or pillows with you. They'll all be provided. Please don't pack if you've got an expensive hairdryer or flat iron or curling wand. Unless it's dual voltage, leave it at home because that will be the first thing to fry when you try and use it, just because of the voltage, which I'll go over later. Try not to bring anything that you might wear, like if you've got a shirt or something in your closet that's still got the tag on that you bought last year. If you haven't worn it in the last year, you're not going to be wearing it in Barcelona, I promise you. So make sure you bring, you know, things that you're comfortable in. And try to leave anything heavy or, you know, super expensive, whether it's, you know, jewellery or any kind of family heirlooms, anything that you'd be absolutely devastated to lose in, you know, worst case scenario. Leave it at home so that it's safe and it will be waiting for you when you get home. My mum won't let me travel with my teddy because she loves it more than I do. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a super expensive thing, but, you know, the bear that I've had in my bed since I was yay high has to stay at home at my parents' house. I'm not even allowed to have it in London. So, you know, anything that's got emotional expense attached to it, then again, maybe try and leave that at home as well. Just an idea of the climate in Barcelona. So you'll be there February through May, and it will warm up, but it will still be rainy, and kind of April, May tends to be surprisingly more rainy than earlier on, just as it does warm up. Again, remember you'll be doing plenty of walking, need to be prepared for the elements. Remember that it will take time to dry your clothes. You will have a washing machine, but you won't have a dryer. Dryers are not seen as an essential item in Europe, I'm afraid. So you'll have to get used to air drying and the time that usually takes. Ta-da! This will be This is actually a colleague's laundry. He's very on brand with his tote bag. But yeah, do bear that in mind. You know, if you've got something that you're desperate to wear, maybe wash it a couple of days before you need to wear it. So power. Luckily, all laptops, tablets, smartphones, dual voltage or balanced so that you can plug them in without converters. Unless they are dual voltage, then hairdryers and flat irons and anything like that, no, you would need to use a converter. Converters are usually massive bulky things that won't even stay in the wall and that don't work because you'll plug something in, you'll fire up your hairdryer and it will spark, the whole apartment's electricity will go down and you'll have some very angry roommates and or homestay mum. So, you know, you'll be sharing apartments, your homestay family will probably have a hairdryer you can use. Maybe just decide to go in with your roommates once you get there. You know, you can buy them for €10, €15, just something that will get you through the 3 months. Make sure you bring adapters. So you guys have the straight pins here. In Europe, they have the 2 round pins, which you can see on the bottom there. And if you're planning on travelling, then in the UK we have a 3-pin system. So we like to keep things awkward, but if you're planning to go to the UK or Ireland, then you'll need a separate thingy as well as separate money. So travelling, make sure that you tell your bank you're going to be in Europe. They may still try and block your transactions anyway, but it's good to have it on record from the start. And if you don't already have it, make sure you set up online banking so that you can access information, see what your withdrawals are charging you, keep a constant check on your balance. You want to be bringing a debit card that's part of the Cirrus Plus or Star networks so that you'll be able to withdraw cash. Make sure you check the fees. We usually encourage students once they're over in Spain to withdraw kind of larger amounts rather than getting 10 or 20 euros here and there, because if you're going to be charged $2 for every transaction, you want to be withdrawing 200 euros rather than 5, so that you don't get charged multiple times. Credit cards, Visa and MasterCard are really widely accepted. American Express less so because they have fees and charges attached to it. So a lot of stores will reject those. Traveller's checks are a thing of the past, but they have kind of morphed into a travel money card. So it's like a debit card, but it has no connection to an account. You can just load it up and use it. And kind of it's just an extra layer of protection. So if it did get lost, you know that nobody has access to your account or anything like that. Recommend that especially if you're travelling independently, but even if you're on the group flight, please bring maybe 100 to 150 euros in cash with you to travel, incidentals at the airports. Again, you don't want to be charging everything the first day, especially if it's just a coffee, because again, the fees will go up. And please don't bring any dollar cash with you, because you will, not be able to spend it. Sorry, I fiddle when I'm... It's a nervous thing. You won't be able to spend it, and you will incur huge fees or really bad rate for currency exchange, cash to cash. So if mum and dad or grandma and granddad, throw a wad of cash in your hands as you're heading out to the airport, obviously say thank you. It's very generous of them. But ask them to actually deposit it into your account rather than bringing it with you to Europe. It's just going to sit in your wallet or your bag for 3 months. Internet and Wi-Fi. So you will have Wi-Fi in your accommodation and at the study centre. Please do manage your expectations. It will be significantly slower than you're probably used to and less available as well. I couldn't tell you what Mbps stands for, but I do know that 16 is significantly lower than 58. So I'm guessing that's not a good thing. Anyone know what it is? Okay, that doesn't really help me, but that's great. We can, what's a megabyte? Anyway, so yeah, it will be a little bit slower than you're used to. And a few things, just communication. Remember the time difference. While your family will miss you, they will miss you less if you wake them up at 3 a.m. to tell them what you're doing. Again, please respect your roommates. If you're up trying to speak to mum and dad at midnight and your roommate has class at 8:30 in the morning, just be a little bit considerate about that. And just be a little bit careful what you're posting on social media. The drinking age here is 21. In Europe, it's 18, so you're more than welcome to do whatever you like. But just be a little bit mindful of who's watching while you're away. And, be careful what information you disclose about where you are, what you're doing. We'll go over it more when you get to Spain, but, we'd hope that nobody ever publishes their address online and things like that. It's just about being a little bit savvy and protecting yourself while you're away. And it was also, don't get too drawn into seeing the programme through your smartphone. There's lots to see and do in the city. If you're constantly in contact with everybody back home, you're not really having the chance to enjoy where you are and what you're doing. And sometimes you have to cut off just a little bit to, really immerse yourself and enjoy. So, yeah. Again, keeping in touch. So yeah, if you're bringing your US smartphone, make sure you've got things like WhatsApp and maybe Viber and Skype downloaded onto them. You might want to consider an international plan. I don't know how, I think, is it T-Mobile has quite a good one. Things are moving forward in that kind of realm, but they can still be incredibly expensive. If you don't have an international plan, then you want to make sure that you've turned off your data, that you're using it in airplane mode without Wi-Fi. John?
T-Mobile is great. It's good and all through Europe. It's a flat rate, includes texting, includes cellular data. You pay for phone calls, but you can text to your heart's content.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, make sure that you have insurance. Obviously, you live in California, home of the iPhone. They're a lot more expensive in Europe. I think I know the new ones are expensive here, but I think the iPhone X or whatever it is like £1,000, so it'll be probably about 1,200, 300 euros to buy in Europe. If someone sees that sitting on a table, you can bet they're gonna, if they're not you know what I'm trying to say. Just be aware that what you have might be attractive to other people. Be careful with it, but also make sure that it is covered for all eventualities. Again, you're going to be taking lots of photos. If you drop it off a cliff that you're leaning over to get a photo, then you want to be backed up to know that you can figure out a replacement without incurring too much cost as well. We've had people drop them off the side of boats. You name it, it's happened. So just make sure that if you do bring your US phone, that it's covered in case of emergencies. And yeah, you can purchase a local cell phone. If your US phone is unlocked, then you can just get a local SIM card with a fairly basic data plan, like €20 a month, and use that. Or if you want to buy a different phone outright, you're probably looking at 30 to 40 for a very basic model that just calls and texts. And if you want a basic smartphone, maybe like 80 to 100 euros as well. So yeah, again, we can give you more information once you arrive in Spain. And don't forget, snail mail is still a thing. Make sure that, if it's always lovely to receive mail. You'll appreciate receiving mail from anybody while you're out there, so it's not, it's a nice thing to reciprocate, especially if anybody has helped you financially to come. It's always a nice thing to send them a postcard, tell them what you're getting up to. It's a really simple gesture, but it can go a long way. This is really for family. You will inevitably want to send a care package. Just please be careful with what you're sending. Do mark things used personal goods, otherwise they will get stuck in customs. They might do anyway, but there's not really much we can do. Try to be mindful of importation taxes. So while you might pay USPS or FedEx $50 to actually post the box, your student may need to pay €40 to get it the other end as well. So they're not going to be terribly thrilled if they open it up to a box of hot Cheetos and Q-tips and they've just had to pay €40 for the privilege. It can sour the gesture really quickly. It tends to take about a week to arrive. And as I've said before, please don't mail any medicine or anything that looks like medicine, cosmetics, things like that, because they will get stopped. And it's really tricky to get them released. Please make sure you send any mail to the AIFS study centre. We don't always get given keys to mailbox for the apartments. We rarely do. The AIFS study centre always has someone who can sign for packages, so we can let the student know that something's arrived for them. And again, if anything arrives after the programme, then we can return it to sender a lot easier as well. So touching on not posting medication, as I've said, if you do have a prescription for anything, please make sure you bring enough to last the programme. You're all covered by our insurance policy, so that operates on a $50 deductible per claim. So if it's just something that you need to see a GP for, then you're responsible for paying for the appointment and the prescription. Keep your receipts and then you can file a claim at the end and you'll get everything back less $50. You'll be pleased to know that healthcare is significantly cheaper in Europe than it is here, so there shouldn't be any bills that break the bank. The policy covers most things. It covers pre-existing conditions up to $500, sorry. It doesn't have dental coverage, I'm afraid. So please no acrobatics. We have lots of English-speaking medical services available. We have a US doctor that we use regularly. So it shouldn't be too daunting or complicated. The good thing in Europe is that pharmacies are a really dependable service, kind of to triage a situation and let you know whether you should go to a doctor. I think in the UK, it's like a 6-year university degree, which I think in theory is 1 year longer than doctors have to do. So they're really, really qualified. Some would say more qualified. And so they're a really good resource to use. And there's, pharmacies almost on every block. Please make sure you look after yourself, drink lots of water, fruits and vegetables, get sleep. If you have an exercise routine that you do, or, anything that you do here, try and replicate it in Spain so that you keep healthy. We also have a lot of mental health resources. The insurance, again, covers mental health up to $500, I believe. We will give you information on local counsellors, therapists, things like that when you arrive. We can either help arrange, if anybody's struggling or feels that they just need someone to talk to, we can arrange that, and we'll also provide the information to everybody in case you don't feel that you can approach us. But I hope that you would. So please, know that whatever the situation, we are there to help. And also, if you are taking any medication or any prescription, Spain's not the time to stop doing that. Try and keep things on an even keel. We do have situations where people come and think, right, new country, new me, I don't need this anymore, I don't need that. And it all kind of goes downhill fairly quickly. So please look after yourselves and help us to look after you, by talking to us. And if there's anything that's a concern, please do let us know. Few kind of admin things. We ask that you all register with the US Embassy STEP program. It's fairly easy to Google, and you just have to fill out your travel plans, basically. They then will put you on a database that you're in Barcelona, and if anything happens, in Spain, in Barcelona, in Europe, they'll send you kind of an email alert so that you're kept up to date. We also ask that you let us know when you're travelling at the weekend so that we can be very jealous of your plans, but also so that we know where you are in case of an emergency, or if you run into trouble, then we know where you are and we can help you from afar. We are registered with the US Travel Department, so we receive all of their advisories and monitor world situations as well. We have our emergency phone. We have a huge network of people who work for AIFS throughout Europe. We have programmes in almost every capital city in Europe, and more beyond. So if you've gone to Florence for the weekend, or you're in Paris and you run into trouble, all I have to do is ring my colleague Sophie in Florence or my colleague Jane in Paris, and we can connect you with someone that can help you. So it really does help if we know where you're going. And again, like I've said, we have lots of links with local doctors, with the US Embassy in Barcelona, so we're really well connected in case of an emergency. In order to help yourself stay safe, we ask that you, again, register for these travel advisories. Please bring a couple of copies of your passport with you in addition to the actual thing. It's really handy if you have a scan of it, like in your email, that you can print out if needed. We need to keep one on file, so we'll ask you for that when you arrive. And, in the case that it gets lost, again, we do have passports go missing fairly regularly, or people who decide they don't need to travel with it on a weekend, and you can get out of the country fairly easily without it, but you're sure as hell not getting back in. So we have a few situations crop up every semester. It's a much quicker process if you have a copy of the old one. If you need to get a new one, it just is really helpful. And you'll need to carry it with you with your Metro Pass as well. So bring a handful of copies with you. Again, please limit the expensive items that you bring. I promise you can live without it for 3 months. Again, it's all about not having something that whatever you have is going to be attractive to someone else. Barcelona has a really awful reputation for pickpockets. I personally don't think it's any worse there than any other European city. It happens absolutely everywhere. But you just need to be really aware of your belongings and where they are at all times. It's not so much an issue in Barcelona, but again, I'm going to make a sweeping statement. You Americans, you do like to wear, is it spirit wear? You like to have your college emblazoned across your chest, or, you know, USA. So please kind of just be aware that you will stand out significantly if you are doing that in Barcelona. And the trick is to blend into the crowd. So try not to declare your provenance too obviously, and just kind of, again, I think we've moved on from the days where you had to tell people not to say that you're an American. But we've all got interesting political situations going on in every single country, I feel, at the moment. And people may just be looking for an excuse to strike up a conversation about politics and various things. So just be aware of that and politely decline. And just use common sense. You know, if you really like your phone, don't leave it on a table and walk away. If you like your purse, keep it with you. If you feel uncomfortable in a situation, remove yourself from it quickly and quietly and head somewhere else. Again, we'll go over this in more detail in Barcelona, but it's fairly easy to do. You just have to use a lot of common sense. I've mentioned we have the emergency phone. As I said, it's a member of staff that you will know that will be picking it up. So no, they probably can't call you a taxi at 3 a.m. and they don't know where the pizza place is, and you'll get a very grumpy email or face-to-face contact with them the next day if you do that. But if it's a medical situation or you're locked out of your apartment or anything that genuinely is an emergency, then that's what they're there for. As I've said, we have the email address, we have the Facebook group. Both of those are really only monitored during office hours. So we ask that you please don't email with an emergency, because we can't guarantee that it will be seen until, let's say, 9 a.m. the next morning, by which point it's probably not much use. So the phone, it has WhatsApp. You know, it's not an iPhone, but it does have WhatsApp messaging. You have to contact us via phone if it's a genuine emergency, so make sure that you can do that, please. As John mentioned, you know, the laws are significantly different everywhere, different countries. We do have a few disciplinary procedures, just trying to keep everything on an even keel. And it's not because we're controlling, it's not that we're trying to spoil your fun, it's we want everybody to have a great time, and if one or two individuals start to jeopardise that, then we really have no qualms about removing them from the programme and sending them home. So somebody asked about attendance earlier. Everybody's syllabi will state their attendance policy, but this is a study abroad programme. If you wanted to travel Europe and backpack for 2-3 months, you probably could have done it fairly cheaper than this programme. So please do bear that in mind. You've all signed an agreement and release form as part of your application, which means that you've agreed to do whatever we say. No, well, pretty much. So just in case, you know, you can obviously review that online. It's just basic rules of the programme and behaviour. And then we will remind you of that when you arrive in Barcelona. We ask you to sign a code of conduct form as well, just to remind you of a few more specific things. We do operate a warning system, so strike one, you kind of get a formal verbal warning. You'll be asked to meet with Clem and maybe Elisabeth as the rep for Citrus. Next step is a letter, and the third step is unfortunately going home. These aren't empty threats. Unfortunately, most semesters we do end up having to send someone home. We have a zero tolerance policy on drug use. So I know that obviously marijuana has very relaxed laws over here. You may find, or you may believe it to be the same in Spain, but irregardless of local laws, the AIFS rule, we have zero tolerance. So anyone found using drugs of any kind on the programme will be immediately removed. We also have zero tolerance policy for abuse. We ask you to respect the AIFS staff, your teachers, anybody that we work with, guides, bus companies, things like that. If we feel that you're being disrespectful to anybody that we regularly do business with, we will be taking steps with that. Okay? What happens in Barcelona unfortunately doesn't stay in Barcelona. As John said, you're on a Citrus College programme. We are essentially picking up the Citrus College campus and putting it in Barcelona. So whatever campus rules are, they do roll over to Barcelona as well. Yes. Moving on. There's a lovely picture of a dragon, just to lighten the mood a little bit. That's in Parkway, which we will hopefully go to. So, I'm sure you've had lots of contact with John already, but in case anybody doesn't have them, I believe those are his contact details, as well as the Study Abroad website. If you have any questions for us, you can email me and the team in Barcelona on spain@aifs.co.uk. You can, please note that it's .co.uk, not .com. We do lose a few emails that way. If you want to call any of my colleagues in our US office in Stamford on the East Coast, that's the number. And perhaps the most important person on the East Coast is Patty. She's our registrar, so you've probably had contact with her about financial aid and fee payments and things like that. And then social media, if you want to follow us on anything, so we have the customised is kind of the department that you're with, but AIFS Abroad is the wider one. So if you are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, please feel free to follow us. If you post any photos and things during the run-up to the programme, during the programme, if you could tag us, and then also we're kind of going to run the hashtag SCFCBCN, just so that we can follow stuff and repost and things like that. We usually have photo competitions, and if you're receiving one of the AIFS scholarships, then we'll have a bit of a project for you. But we really appreciate it if you can include us. And then it's a group happy for the football or soccer. And then I'm pretty much done. I will happily answer questions, but I do have a bit of a hit list of people I'd like to come and see me for various reasons. So just before you leave, if your name's on the list, come up and say hi and we'll have a quick chat.